Hello, everyone, and welcome to another broadcast of Northwest Georgia Cryptics. I am Rick Weaver, and I'm have my co-host here with me, Mr. Blake Duckworth. And tonight we have a very special guest, Mr. Timothy Wayne Williams of Williams Fine Arts. Timothy joins us from Indianapolis, Indiana. Uh, Timmy has been into the painting world for quite a number of years. I have some of his pictures that I'll be putting up today that he's done. But let's get this thing under on the way. Blake, you got anything, buddy, before we go?
No, just as always, guys. Thank you guys so much, and I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas. And if you guys don't mind, if you're not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button, the bell notification, a like, and a comment. That's all, Ricky.
All right. We're going to bring Mr. Timothy Wayne Williams on and let Timothy share his stories with you. Here we go. Good evening, Timothy.
Hi,
Welcome
good
back.
evening, guys. Good to
Welcome back
see
to the
you.
show. As we said, earlier, just go ahead and tell our viewers a little about yourself, if you don't mind, and we'll take her from there.
Sure. Well, my name's Timothy Williams. I'm from Indianapolis. I've been an artist for a while now. I'm a graphic artist during the day, and I paint at night. And I do predominantly oil painting, and I. Uh, I've been painting like normal paintings for years, like kind of normal stuff people would do, like still lifes, flowers, and um, I did a little bit of portrait work and landscapes, just normal landscapes. One day I was painting and I was listening to actually Sasquatch Chronicles, and just listening to it, it inspired me to just put like a little Bigfoot figure in the painting. And I just did it for my own amusement. I just thought it was kind of funny, just to hide something there. I thought it'd be so funny, for maybe, somebody to buy the painting, and then maybe years would go by and they would just one day be walking by the painting and they'd suddenly just kind of out of the corner of their eye go, now, wait a minute, what is that? So I thought it was kind of funny. So I started doing that, and I sold probably dozens of paintings that the people have no idea that there's a Bigfoot in there. And then one art show I did one time here in Indianapolis, I started telling people, to look for it, and and people really started to get into it. They really liked the searching, for it thing, and they just thought it was a neat idea. I didn't think it was real original, but everyone thought it was really cool. So I started doing it, and then one day I posted it in some Facebook groups. I was just like, "Hey, here's a painting I did, and see if you can find the Bigfoot in it." And I could not believe the response. And my sales doubled, overnight, and then in like, then in a couple months they quadrupled. And then I was ready to quit my day job. It was that close. I mean, it was selling that well. And then COVID hit, and I had to rethink that because there's so much uncertainty that everyone just kind of stopped buying art. I'm still selling paintings, but it's not quite as much as it was. It's slowed down quite a bit. Um, but I put out a calendar this year, and it sold really well. And I'm thinking about expanding that. I might do calendars with UFOs in it. I might do calendars with other cryptids. Maybe the next calendar I do might have just a bunch of different cryptids. Like a sea monster or Mothman. I might expand on it. I've always been super interested in the paranormal ever since I was a kid. Just like everybody else, my age, I'm 51. The show In Search Of just really launched everything for me. I remember my dad coming and getting me and saying, "You've got to see this show. They're talking about this hairy creature, that could be real, and just the whole idea of a real monster still being alive, or being real, totally captivated my imagination, and I've always, that's, to this day, I find super fascinating. I love the idea that there are mysteries we don't know,
Right, and that's what a lot of people don't realize in today's time, that there are creatures that's out there that we know nothing about.
Yeah.
But honestly, with shows like Finding Bigfoot, like In Search Of, like you were talking about, things of that nature, and broadcasts like ours, it's brought a lot of the not only Bigfoot but a lot of the other creatures to the forefront of today's
Yeah.
society. You know, Me at my age, I'm 62 years old. Of course, when I was young, I saw the original film when it was released by Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin from
Oh yeah.
1967, and that fueled my imagination. But back then I was just a poor boy stuck here in northwest Georgia mountains, and I really didn't know a whole lot about Bigfoot or any of the other things that's out there, which I've been hunting since I was 7 years old, and hunted all my life in these mountains around here. Really enjoy hunting. I can tell you about any kind of track that's laid by any animal in this part of the world, and until 1981, I had never experienced anything such as Sasquatch or anything, personally. But then we had a float fishing trip that me and a friend of mine went on, and on a small creek about 10 miles from where I live now. And lo and behold, we were fishing that day. And I remember it like it was yesterday, July the 5th of 1981. We'd come across like a little, maybe a 5 foot waterfall in the raft we were in, went down and turned it right in the creek. And there was this thing standing to our left out on a shoal, I call them, big sandbar that run out where another creek ran into Talking Rock. And this thing was standing there, uh, crouched over. I thought it was a bear when I first saw it, but
Mm.
when it stood up, what got me the most was when it stood up, instead of paws, it was two hands. They're about
Mm.
twice the size of a human hand, and they were covered in hair. Uh, the fingers were covered in hair down to about the middle knuckle, and then of course long fingernails. And it wasn't just a very very brief encounter, just a few seconds, but the thick terrain behind it, it was standing out about, I don't know, 40, 50 foot, but uh, this thing turned when it saw us, and in like 2 seconds flat, it was gone.
Mm.
Disappeared into the cover. This just goes to tell how fast these things can actually maneuver themselves. But it was
Yeah.
fully bipedal, 2 legs, just like we are. Wasn't a bear. Uh, I'll take that knowledge from my grave. It was not a bear. Uh, then Blake, of course, my co-host, he had an encounter in 2011. Well, actually, Blake and I both uh, started out the same night having the same encounter, and it led up to Blake actually seeing three of these creatures.
Oh
I'll
my
let Blake
God,
say a little
3.
bit about that. Go ahead, Blake.
Wow.
I've actually got a couple questions. As far as your paintings,
Oh, sure.
what is the general price? I mean, I'm sure they vary from painting to painting, but what's a rough estimate you would normally sell them for?
I've since COVID hit, and I'm not doing like regular art shows or anything, I have slashed my prices. Um, I would say, before COVID, I would sell paintings for around $600 or so, a framed piece, Right now I'm selling for less than 400. A lot of times 385 or something. But I'm not selling them framed. It's easier to ship that way, and costs a lot less to ship. And yeah, so it's that's why I'm painting a lot. People are like a lot of people are like, "Gosh, you sure are, cranking them out." Well, it's like, well, you kind of have
You got to
to.
make up. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to
Right.
make up
Excuse me,
for
man.
it. Instead of doing one painting and being good for a couple weeks money wise, I got to do a couple paintings a week, to make up for it. So you know
Now, as
that's kind
far
of
as a
the.
rough estimate, how many have you? How many with the actual Bigfoot in them have you done?
Oh wow. At this point, I'd say probably maybe 60, something like that. Because really, I mean, I've only been doing it maybe a year and a half. You know,
Mhm.
so yeah, not
So,
super long.
so basically, did when when you posted that when you posted the picture of the one the first one you did, um,
Hmm.
so you basically just started out from a post, pretty much, far as those particular paintings go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just put it up, and I didn't know anything about really groups. Groups about Bigfoot. I didn't really understand a lot of what it was like to be in those groups, and so I just joined a couple real quick, and I just said, hey, I'm this painter in Indianapolis, and I've never seen a Bigfoot, but I'm very interested in it. And I said, hey, I do these paintings. What do you guys think? And I just kind of put it like that. After I got a lot of
Positive.
attention.
Yeah.
After I got a lot of attention, I started realizing, hey, this is potentially a way I could sell. And so I started on some of the places going, hey, okay, here, this painting is this much. And and then some of the groups were like, wait a minute, no, you can't sell on here.
Yeah.
We're not,
Of course.
that's not what this group is about. And I didn't understand that. I was totally new to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I realized, oh, okay, I can't word it like that. I need to just say, hey, this is something I've done. I'd like you to take a look at it. And if somebody contacts me and goes, hey, do you sell that? Or would you
If
sell
some,
that? Then
yeah,
then I'll private.
if somebody's interested enough, they would personally message you about it.
Exactly. And so that's kind of the relationship I have now with all the groups I'm part of. They kind of get it. A few of the groups are actually really cool about it, and they're like, "No, go ahead, say that you sell them." And but most of them are kind of like, "Nah, we really don't want to open that can of worms." And I get it. I totally do.
Well, as
And
soon as they let one person do it, they're gonna have, it's just gonna be a ripple effect.
exactly. Yeah, a lot of people are like, we don't want to turn this into like just some big, garage sale. And I
Yeah.
get that.
Well,
So,
Timothy, I have a few of your pictures here. I'm gonna put one of them up on the screen here, and you just kindly, if you don't care, tell us when you painted these and
Now,
a little
sure.
about them.
I got another question. This is just because I'm not like I've never painted or anything like that. How long does it generally? I mean, I know it's gonna be different from painting to painting, but how long do you
Mhm.
normally spend on a painting?
I, I when I paint, boy, I can sit down in front of that easel and I can sit for 15 hours, no problem.
Yeah.
So it takes me about a week to finish a painting. Usually the weekend is nothing but sitting in front of that canvas drinking coffee, to be honest
Yeah.
with you. So
So
I
you
yeah, I do a
you put
lot.
a lot of time. Yeah, you put a lot of time into it. So I mean,
Oh
a
yeah.
lot. A lot of people would think $600 for a painting, but at the same time, when you're putting that much time and effort into it, I mean, you're not really you're rewarding from it, but not dramatically, I guess.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's not, the money is nice, but that's not kind of what it's about, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the painting you're showing now, that one's called Early Snow. I don't, you guys probably know Amy Boo. You know who Amy Boo is?
Mm, yeah, I have
No.
heard.
Okay. Yeah, she's. I know she's big in the Bigfoot conference kind of circuit.
Right.
She owns that. She owns that original. She,
Oh, okay.
yeah, she's really cool. Um, what I've been doing lately with my Bigfoot paintings is, I'm just sitting down and just kind of. This sounds weird, but it's like I don't really have a preconceived idea in my head. I just
Yeah.
kind of I just kind of
No way.
sit down and just work with a few colors and just kind of move them around. I usually start with like a sky or a background and just kind of move forward with it, you know, putting in trees or whatever, mountains. And I'm doing some of my best work, in my opinion, with where I just wing it. You know, I
Yeah.
used to spend a lot of time, you know, before I started doing the Bigfoot stuff, I'd spend so much time like setting up a still life, setting up a bowl of fruit or whatever and stuff like that. And and those paintings came out all right, but I think I'm doing my best work where I just wing it, you know. And the painting you have here, that one I just put they're actually coordinates is the name of the painting. They're two coordinates. I don't remember them off the top of my head, but um, what those coordinates are is they're kind of a little code because there's a UFO in the painting. I didn't want people to think it was just a UFO. So the coordinates, if you actually Google those, they put you in the Himalayas. So that was my little clue that there's basically a Yeti in the painting.
Is the Yeti standing back on the back mountain on top of it?
No, no,
No,
he's a lot closer than that.
actually, he's standing there where from what I see in the painting,
Okay. Yeah.
he's standing down in kind of a valley there, up against the bank, looking out. Would I be right, Wayne?
Yeah, on the he's as you're looking at it, it'd be on the right side.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey
Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
I've checked out a lot of your painting, the work that you've done, that you've posted, and that's the first thing I do. I start looking for the Bigfoot.
Yeah, I know. It's funny. It's like I'll post some of my
Now that
older works, and then like I used to do a lot of ships and things, like old tall ships, and I love that kind of stuff. And
Right. I think.
people are like, "Is there a Bigfoot on that ship?" And it's like, no, not
on
that I
that
want.
first on the first one Ricky put up, was it to the left by that tree, standing behind the tree?
Oh yeah. That one was the first one.
That one there.
Yeah.
Right there. Left,
Yeah.
yeah.
I had a customer like that painting so much that he made me basically reproduce it as close as I possibly could to it. I had to call Amy Boo and say, "Is that all right?" This guy basically wants me to copy your painting exactly, and she was fine with it. So,
Yeah.
but the guy really liked it. So, and
Oh yeah.
I'm happy with it. It's it's one of my favorite too.
Right. Man, you do awesome work. I'm here to say it. It really
I
is.
really appreciate that. That means a lot. It really does.
You do, and like I say, in the near future, I do want to contact you about purchasing some of these for this new office I'm putting up.
Great. That's
And I
fantastic.
love this type of art, and you're really fantastic. You're an excellent artist, and the Bigfoot kick, it really just adds a little flair to it.
Yeah,
It's really a nice
like
conversation piece.
yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, like I said, I want to do nothing but thank the Bigfoot community because, like I said, before I started doing this, I was just one of, I was just another artist, and no one really noticed me all that much. But
Just kind of set you to the side a little bit.
yeah, this definitely, made me stick out, and everyone's been super kind, so nice, and I really expected, some trolls to come along and, give me a hard time and stuff. I've had a couple, but I mean, considering the thousands of, comments I've had and stuff, I'm amazed it's only just been a couple people, give me a hard time. So, yeah, but for the most part, the whole community's been great.
Man,
It's
don't
a
worry.
great idea. It's
Thing that's basically out of the norm. That's like Blake and I. We're all the time. We have a lot of people that come up. I was in the doctor's office here a few weeks ago, and I actually had two of the nurses that came in and congratulated me on the show that Blake and I did, and they really liked the show. We had a little mix up there in or I had in the email account that I had, and I had lost the password for it, and we actually ended up having to restart the show because of that. We had, I think, like 10 or 12 clips that we had shown under our old email address, and then when I lost the address for the email address, I couldn't get back into it, so we actually had to restart the show over. And we've produced, I think, about 11 or 12. I think this is our 12th one under the new email address, and we've got everybody used to going to this one now on our YouTube channel, so it's worked out pretty good for us. But
yeah, I've watched a couple. It's been good.
have you
Enjoyed them? Yes, I did. Absolutely.
We are not professional at being behind the camera by any means.
No.
I think you guys are doing great. Believe me.
I'll put it that way.
Well, I mean, even me and Ricky. I mean, we were part of another group, and I mean, we've done. Well, Ricky's done more than I have, but we've done 40 so podcasts, and it's still awkward every time you do it to a certain extent.
Sure.
Like,
Sure. Well, get this. I did a podcast. Matter of fact, it was much like this. It was a video podcast, and I did it 3 times. And the 2 times it did not work. It got screwed up. The video feed got screwed up. We did the whole show, and then he goes, "You know what? I'm not sure that actually taped, or I'm not sure that actually the feed went out." And so then he called me the next day. He's like, "Yeah, that didn't go out." And so we did it again, and there was another problem. So we ended up doing it 3 times, But
Here, one of our viewers is saying, "What about a Bigfoot eating blackberries, Sam?"
Bigfoot eating blackberries? Oh, that's a great idea. I kind of like that. The problem is, because I kind of hide them, it would
Right.
be, I'd have to, yeah, it'd be kind of small. It might be hard to tell what he's doing, but I kind of like that idea, though. That's kind of cool.
You could almost do it one peeking out from behind a blackberry bush, kind of reaching around.
Right. Yeah, that's a good way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a good way to hide it. Kind of do it at a distance, kind of in the background a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, says he's in Oklahoma. So,
that's a hot spot.
It's talking about that they're not, Ricky.
Yeah, this one is. Yeah, I've recovered. Blake and I were doing a paranormal investigation down a cemetery, actually, place where Blake saw had his encounter with the 3 Sasquatch, and we were down there the other night doing a live broadcast, and we had started using dowsing rods. First time we'd ever done it, and we contacted an entity that I don't know. It really spooked me. It really it really got to me. I had to actually end the broadcast, no way to the broadcast because of it. And
Oh wow.
yeah,
He about started crying. Like it was.
yeah, man, it was like it was. We were doing the interview and or doing the broadcast, and we had contacted this entity, and it ended up being a murder victim. And
Oh my God.
come to find out that his father had actually murdered him. This was back in the early 1900s, and man, I don't know. It felt like just a weight, a heavy weight was pushing down on me trying to do this, and I don't know. It just got to the point that I had to walk off camera. I couldn't do it. It was
Wow.
over with
Yeah,
for
Wow.
me.
he was. Ricky was the only one that felt it. I mean, I didn't feel anything weird.
Mhm.
So I mean, whatever it was affected Ricky directly. I mean, it was. I had never seen Ricky, get emotional like that. I mean, it was.
Yeah, you
It was.
get a chance. You get a chance, Timothy. Go back on YouTube and watch that one. It's
I
uh,
will.
uh,
It's our last
yeah,
video.
from the old Macedonia Cemetery is the name of the broadcast, and like I say, I really got tore up. I just had to I had to
Well, I'll
tell
tell you,
Blake shut.
I've had a couple weird experiences, not quite like that, but a couple that have left me pretty shaken. Um, uh, this one I really can't explain. I I don't even know what category to put it in, but let me tell you about it. I was when I was in high school, I was in a rock band. I'm a drummer, and we were playing in this. No, we weren't playing. We were setting up in this bar, and we had rented a whole bunch of PA equipment, and this was supposed to be a big show that we were put on. We kind of rented the place out, and we were setting up, and we were over by the soundboard. The whole band was talking, and it was just the band that was there. There was nobody else. We had loaded in. There was only one way into this place and one way out that we knew of. And all of a sudden, while we're sitting there talking, we hear this just outrageous laughter. Somebody just laughing their ass off. And we all turn and look, and there's some old man, he kind of looked like an old blues kind of like guitarist or something. And he was sitting on one of the PA speakers, just sitting there, just laughing at us. And like he just heard the funniest joke ever. And we all kind of looked at each other. We're like, how'd this guy get in the building? And we really didn't know, but we were all like, well, let's go over and see, what he's laughing about. So me and one of the other guys kind of walked up to him and said, hey, it's kind of awkward. It's like, hey, what are you doing here? What's going on? He said, hey, I got something for you. And this is going to blow your mind. And we're like, oh, okay, he's going to try to sell us drugs or something. And he whips out a stack of Polaroids, and they're probably, I mean, as wide as your hand could possibly hold them. You know what I mean? A
Yeah,
stack of these, and he just starts kind of like holding them like playing cards, and they were all pornographic. I mean, very explicit. And he kept saying, hey, I can get you guys some of this stuff. I can get you guys some of this stuff. And we were looking around like, are you kidding me? Are you crazy? And it creeped us out. We were all from a real small town, and this was a bigger city that we were in, and we were like, we've never seen anything like this. And we got totally creeped out. So we kind of walked away from him. By the time we kind of turned around to just kind of look to this, he was gone. I mean, he like just disappeared. No one saw him come in and no one saw him leave. And it was the strangest, creepiest thing. It was almost like, if you if you believe in angels or demons or something, it was like something was tempting us, and it was creepy, and it to this day that just gives me chills thinking about that guy. Just that laugh, just
Yeah,
the way he was
and
laughing.
even by chance it was an actual person, like that's just weird.
Yeah,
Just
yeah, isn't it?
I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it
mean,
may
man,
not have
people,
been it may not have been paranormal, but it freaked us out.
yeah, that would be very freaky. I'm telling you, that would be very unnerving. Especially in an open venue and somebody approaching you with something of that manner. It just yeah, that
It's
would be
you don't know
the
what their intentions are. You don't. I mean, you
exactly. Yeah, yeah. The thing that will always stay with me is just that laughing. It's like, who just starts laughing out of the middle of nowhere? Like, no one said anything to him. No one had even seen him. He just sat there and just started laughing just his head off. And that's what caught our attention. We're like, what? Where is that coming from? And that, yeah, that to this day still freaks me out.
have you had any other experiences?
Um, yeah, I had a weird sort of what would I call it? My sister had a séance one time, and I was just a little kid, and she was a lot older. She was in high school, and I was probably fifth or sixth grade, and I don't know where our parents were at, but we had a couple of my cousins over, and we were having this séance, and nothing really spooky happened. But what we were trying to do, one of the girls who was there wanted to, she was in love with some high school kid, and she was like, let's all concentrate on having this guy call. And he didn't know she was there or anything. But to make a long story short, we all just concentrated on having this kid call. I didn't even know who this guy was. And oddly enough, he did call, and she's like, he didn't even have the number, you know. But not only that, after he called and she talked to him and everything, she was all giddy about that. We got to talking about, well, why we were all concentrating on having this kid call. What did we all see? What was in our mind's eye when we were doing this? And I kept saying, I kept seeing this guy, and he was like in like a thermal white thermal long sleeve shirt, and I just kept seeing that, and I kept seeing him in a truck, and then I saw him walk up to an octagonal table where the phone sat, and picking it up to call. And my sister's friend got all wide-eyed, and she was like, you know what? He was in a white thermal shirt. He owns a truck. And the last time I was at his house, he had an octagonal table that they kept the phone on. So, so I don't know. That was maybe not paranormal, but that
It's
again
almost
was
almost
unbelievably
like
yeah,
coincidental.
that was something definite.
telepathically.
Definitely that. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Blake.
there was.
Yeah, it sounds like something would be that be classified as something telepathically.
Yeah, the only I would say the only other thing that I would say, yeah, I'm not even sure, what category to put this in. Um, was I was in West Virginia, and I was sitting. My in-laws own literally a side of a mountain in West Virginia. They have a nice place there, and they knew my interest in Bigfoot and everything. And my father-in-law grew up there, and I'm always picking his brain. I'm like, "Are you sure you never saw anything weird?" And he was like, "No, no, never." And he, he grew up in the outdoors as a kid, and he knows everything, all the sounds. He's hunted, and everything. And I was telling him, I was talking to him about Bigfoot and stuff, and he's like, there's nothing like that around here. And we were out on their deck, and just about the time he said that, we heard the weirdest scream come from the woods, and it's just like the screams like I've heard on YouTube of Bigfoot, kind of screaming. And my father-in-law's face kind of went pale, and he's kind of like, I have never heard that before in my life, and it was weird, the timing of it, it was just a little too coincidental. And so
Like,
that's my closest Bigfoot.
It's like it knew you were thinking about it. It's like, we're going to show
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, it was like, I'm going to show you guys a little something. Yeah. So that was freaky. And even my father-in-law to this day, he's kind of like, yeah, that might have been something,
Where did
And he
it
was
Where did it
pretty
happen
skeptical.
at? Like, what did it
Go ahead. What was that?
did it happen in a different state, or
It was in
there?
West Virginia at their place. And it sounded like it was only maybe 100 yards or so from where their actual house is. So it sounded pretty close.
What part of West Virginia?
They're around Beckley, kind of in that area. Beckley, around Beaver, I think.
You said that was from Virginia or West Virginia?
West Virginia.
West Virginia. We've had quite a few reports from the West Virginia area, so yeah, they are definitely Sasquatch in that area. Also Virginia. We have actually a friend that lives there in Virginia. That he was part of the old group that we were in at one time, and he's had a couple of actual sightings there himself, and had a lot of encounters with Sasquatch. He still does investigations up there, and so yeah, that whole area up in there does contain Sasquatch.
Yeah, I've got a friend in Virginia, Cindy Spencer. She's matter of fact, she's been on Sasquatch Chronicles, excuse me, talking about her encounters, and she's had some crazy stuff happen. And a couple times she's sent me, like, I think I just found footprints, and she sent me pictures, and I'm like, holy cow, those are prints. And they were amazing. They were some of the best prints I've ever seen. And I'm like, you've got to get out there with, some plaster of Paris right away. And I think something happened and she wasn't able to. I don't know if it snowed or something. Something happened to the prints before she could do that. But yeah, she's had some amazing stuff happen.
That's what gets me about, everybody's like, well, why don't we find more footprints? It's like they don't disappear, but nature covers them up so fast. I mean,
Yeah.
if you don't find them, within I'd say at least, depending on the circumstance, whether it be mud or whatever. I mean, if you don't find them, I'd say within a good week. I mean, if they're still there, they're going to lose definition. And I mean, it's just, what was an obvious track at one point may not be such an obvious track at another point. It depends on if there are other animals that come through that area, for a deer, bear, whatever. If they go down the same path, step in the track, I think people would be surprised at how many tracks you would find if it was sooner.
Yeah. No, I believe that. I absolutely believe that. Yeah. Yeah. So, what are your guys' opinion like on it being like a paranormal entity of some sort? I'm very open to all that. What do you guys think?
We just had that conversation the other week, actually. All right. This is my personal opinion on it. I think it is a biological creature, but they definitely have some type of paranormal aspect to them. Whether why that is or how that is, you know, they've actually we have DNA. It depends on how you look at the evidence, the DNA we have.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've found DNA that the mother's side is human, and whatever the father is an undiscovered species. We don't know
Mm-hmm.
what it is. You know, that kind of goes into, is it a extraterrestrial DNA? And I
Mm-hmm.
think if we really look at the picture, if you go by that DNA, and it's not so far fetched, you know, I think it is almost a hybrid creature that is human like, because there are so many people that have been close enough to see facial features. You know, they have a lot of human like features about them.
Right.
Who says, you know, this goes back, you're going into another subject when you start talking about this, but extraterrestrials, UFOs, something from another world.
Sure.
Maybe that explains, you know, that undiscovered DNA and their paranormal aspects. You know, whatever that DNA is, if it is from another world, who says that doesn't enable them to be able to do things that we don't understand as humans? It's not
Right.
necessarily paranormal, but for some reason, whatever that DNA is enables them to have things we don't understand.
Yeah. No, I'm 100% on board with you. That's how I feel about it. I
And
feel like, yeah.
I'm not like that. That's just what I lean towards. You know, I'm open to any side of it, because without scientific proof, it's all
Yeah.
theories. It's all,
Right.
you can't discredit a theory. I mean, I've heard, of course, if it seems like it's too far fetched, sure, you can discredit that. But it may just be a undiscovered species. As
Yeah.
far as just a normal creature, or whatever you want to call it. Um, it could be, as I've heard theories of them being a lost, or not, I shouldn't say a lost civilization, but a human creature, or human hybrid creature that has almost like autistic like um what am I looking for,
Abilities.
abilities, or
Yeah.
they act like a human with autistic, somebody that's
Yeah.
autistic. I've heard that. It's
Well, right, we get a lot of
that's
reports of these creatures. People seeing them, and they say that these creatures actually will be swaying side to side, things of this nature. And I have a great nephew that's 5 years old. That he's been diagnosed as slightly autistic, and he those are some of the traits that he does.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but
Well, I
then
mean,
as
it would
far
explain why they want us to be secluded. I mean, it kind of explains some things, because they it's just it's like gifting. It's like there's so many things that we go about for as investigating or trying to yield evidence. For some reason, they're very curious creatures, whatever they are.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I
Here.
mean,
Here.
I really don't side one way or another with it. I mean,
Yeah.
like I don't really have this is how I look at it. There's some people that are dead set on them being biological creatures.
Right.
I'm not that
Right.
way. I don't
Yeah.
really
I'm
have
not either. Yeah. Here's my thought on the whole thing. Um, there's been so many reports, of them, carrying deer off, and I mean, they eat, they leave prints. They are physical,
so they are biological.
but
Yes, they are living. They
but
are breathing.
but I do think, because we don't, at least not that I'm aware of, have a body, you know, that any, that we can, display. Science hasn't found one or whatever. I think, to me, they must have some other ability that we just don't have, whether it's unbelievable camouflage or cloaking or I think the lights that people see, around them, a lot of people,
There are a
see
lot
these
of
weird balls of
paranormal.
light.
Yeah, there are a
Yeah.
lot of paranormal activity that go along with sightings. I
I'm
mean,
like take something like a chameleon, I mean, what a chameleon does, how it changes its body to be, to camouflage, itself.
yeah. So
To
there,
me,
there are
that's
other
that's
creatures that can do
magical.
it.
I mean, that's amazing, so
But
it's like,
if you look at it in that aspect, you just brought up a good point there about the
hmm
cloaking, or about
hmm
the camouflage.
hmm
All because
I just think,
there are other creatures that can do it. Why
yeah,
for some reason they have that ability.
yeah, exactly. What who knows, maybe they have some way of traveling in some ball of light. I know that sounds crazy, but I who could
We've
say they
actually
don't,
which this is going into what you were just saying, the ball a lot. Actually, where I had, or my beginning of getting into the cryptic world, I started out as a paranormal investigator, and that's how I actually kind of had my first encounters. The rural cemetery that we were visiting at the time is actually where we had the encounters and actually had my visual sightings, or my visual sighting. We've actually seen about a 4-foot orb down there. Just
wow,
a glowing ball of light, about 20 foot off the ground.
that's a
Um,
big one.
so that's in the same area that we were having all the Bigfoot activity, but it is a cemetery, a rural cemetery, which that is a common thing that for some reason they like to stay around rural cemeteries. There are a lot of sightings around rural cemeteries.
Mm-hmm.
What was that ball of light that we seen? Was it actual paranormal because of something in the cemetery, or was it related to the Bigfoot aspect? That's one
Right.
thing about that orb. If I hadn't had my Bigfoot sighting, or my encounters down there, then I would say it was just paranormal.
Sure.
But then you hear so much things about where there Bigfoot activity, people seeing lots and stuff like that. So that even raises that question even more, because was that Bigfoot related or was it paranormal related? Well, I mean,
Mm.
regardless, it was paranormal. But I mean, what relation was that to?
Right. 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 Yeah. I feel the same way.
Ricky, you've been quiet
Oh,
over there.
sorry about that. I was chatting with one of our viewers on the chat line here. But now, as Blake said, yeah, we saw an orb down there that night, and this was after our encounter, the first encounter, wasn't it, Blake? We
Yeah.
actually, the first time we encountered Sasquatch at the lake down there was we were down there, as Blake said, doing paranormal investigations, and this thing actually started throwing rocks the size of basketballs through the treetop up next to this grave we were
Oh,
standing. And these things were landing at our feet. And, man, when you start having something done like that at like 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, and you're down there 3 mile back in there from nowhere at a rural cemetery, especially you're down there ghost hunting, and then all this starts happening, and then this thing started screaming at us. And
oh my God.
hey, man, it caused the hair to stand up on your head.
Oh,
Uh,
it's terrifying.
and yeah, it actually was. And then to beat it all, there was probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 people down there with us, 6 people, whatever. But I look around and all of them gone. They're all down at the lower end of the cemetery. And Blake with us, and I hollered down there at Johnny. I said, "Hey, man, where in the world did y'all go?" He says, "Hey, dude, says, we down here. That thing's throwing rocks at us. I'm not staying up there." So we
Sounds like
done.
my friends.
I finally run down there where they're at, and this is not the only time they've run off and left me. Blake, you tell them a few things that is taking place down there.
Well, I mean, we've had a lot of stuff happen, like Ricky's saying. I mean, we've had rocks thrown at us. That was the first thing that ever happened to us down there, which at first we didn't really put that with anything to do with Bigfoot. You know, that we were just standing in the cemetery and there were rocks being thrown. Or we didn't, first couple times we didn't realize they were rocks. We just heard stuff, you know, being thrown and landing close to us. And then me and Ricky were down there one night and we actually heard the first howl that we heard down there. Didn't really realize what it was at first. Not until later, a couple weeks later, I was watching or I was listening to Bigfoot howls. I don't even know why I was listening to them, and I just happened to come across a couple that sounded like exactly what we heard. That's when we actually started trying to go down there and doing howls and trying to get responses and just trying to figure out what was going on. Well, started going down there and doing some howls, started getting responses, trying wood knocks, getting responses. One night, me, Ricky, and my dad were down there, and we'd been telling my dad about, you know, us having rocks and hearing the howl and stuff, and, you know, that possibly being a Bigfoot. You know, my dad, he was kind of like me, and definitely a believer, but never had anything happen. So we took him down there a couple times. And of course, every time he'd go down there with us, nothing would happen. So one night we were down there. The cemetery's right on the lake, and it was during I don't think it was midwinter. I think it was still fall, early winter. We'd walked back into this cove because they had the water down, so you'd actually walk around the bank. We'd walk back probably about a half a mile from the cemetery back into this cove. And Ricky had done a couple howls back in there. It was really quiet, didn't hear anything. Well, we were getting ready to start walking out, and I told Ricky to do one last howl. And as soon as Ricky howled, as soon as his howl stopped, something 100 yards from us yells back, and it sounded just like Ricky. I mean, it sounded like somebody, it was definitely a doppelganger type sound. Like, it sounded like somebody recorded his voice and played it back 10 times as loud as Ricky could have ever howled.
That is super creepy.
Oh, yeah, no echo to
my dad, my dad, Ricky just had a heart attack. Like, I don't know, a couple month or so before this happened. So he couldn't move nowhere near as well as we could. We left him that night pretty much. I mean, I don't like admitting that, but poor Ricky was doing everything he could to keep up with my dad.
Yeah. We were a mile and a half back over in there, man, and these two suckers run off and left me. When I get back over to where they're at, they're both in the truck with the doors locked. Johnny finally opened the truck up, and the first thing he says to me when he opened the truck up, said, "Hey, man, I didn't have to run off and leave you." Or no, I didn't have to run off and leave Sasquatch. All I had to do was run off and leave you. And they ran off and left me with it.
Oh, that's crazy.
But that was a very close. Like, I mean, the water wasn't deep where we were at to the other side. I mean, if it wanted to get us that night, it could have definitely got us a lot faster than we could have got out of there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had my personal sighting down there. I mean, same bank that we heard that howl that night. We were actually in my dad's bass boat. I don't know how long after that it was. I mean, it was warm, so it may have been spring or something like that. We were pretty close to the bank, and Ricky had done a howl, or I'd done a howl. I can't remember if it was me or him. And this thing was right on top of the hill from us. We were closer to it that day than we were when it yelled across the cove. But I mean, that was probably a 25, 50 yard howl. Like, it was not far at all. It was literally, the bank is pretty steep and it plateaus at the top. So you can't really see once you can't really see what's on top right there. but it sounded like it was just right there.
Oh yeah, right at the edge of the wood line, right on us. And my remark to Blake was, "Get us the hell out of here."
Yeah.
It raised that one raised the hair on my neck too. It was very very
Sure.
interesting night. Yeah, Blake's dad up until that point was a non-believer, but after the happenings that we had happened down there back in 2011, it was something that actually brought him around to being a believer in Sasquatch.
I
And
bet.
like I say, after what I saw, what's happened to us, I've had encounters with them up on place up in Tennessee called Big Frog Mountain. I've actually had them raid the camp up there one night on us, and you know, these things, it goes back to the point that a lot of people say that these creatures are vicious creatures, that they'll attack you, whatever.
Not
Blake
to
and I,
interrupt you, Ricky. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Is I'm not. This is my not to interrupt you there, Ricky, but while I'm thinking about it, this is one of my opinions on them being aggressive creatures. I've never once felt, well, I shouldn't say I've never feared for my life. I never felt like, this is the end. And we have been close, way too close for comfort. And I've never feared for my life. I've never been like, this is it. Like, we're not going to make it out of here. We're dead. That's ever crossed my mind. But I mean, of course it's scary. Don't get me wrong. I mean, like, especially
Sure.
the first night I ever heard a howl, like, I'd never heard anything like that. I mean, I had no clue what it was. I mean, it just the intensity of it, just it's something that until you hear it, you can't explain. Like, you can listen to audio all day long, but that audio does no justice. I think they're just like any other creature or any other animal or any other being. It's a proven fact they have young. I've seen a young. I think it is like any other animal. You put them in a situation where they feel threatened, you may get some type of response, like getting a rock thrown at you or getting screamed at. That's their warning, saying, "Hey, get out of here."
Right.
right now, yeah, my feelings is with these type creatures, they're just like anything else in the wild. We're like humans, for that matter. If you get between one of those and one of their young, then there's no telling what they liable to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've interviewed a lot of people on this show, and they, the aggressive behavior that we have heard from various people, the aggression comes out.
It's usually instigated.
Yeah, it's usually
Some
when
shape.
they do actually get in an area where their young is at, and
Yeah.
they're just like we would do. They're protecting their young.
Well, and it's like all these stories you hear of cabins getting attacked, or just aggressive encounters. Well, they're usually a reason for that. It's something that they've done to bring that on.
Yeah. Usually they've taken a shot at one at some point or something.
They're a real famous story. I can't remember the actual story, but they're a real famous report of that happening. Somebody, I guess, had shot at one, and they were staying in the cabin, and they come at night and like destroyed that cabin.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, that's real famous.
State, 1929. The guy, the miners that actually the day before had shot one of these things. Didn't recover the body. The body had fell off a cliff into a big ravine. They didn't get to recover the body, but that night next night they actually came in and tried to destroy the cabin these miners were in. So anytime you have if you do something to antagonize one of these creatures, then of course they're going to show aggression toward you.
Hey guys, I just want to tell you, my phone is just about dead. I did not think to charge that before we got talking. So
Hey,
if
man,
I suddenly,
and we're on the hour mark here. Wayne, we want to thank you. Timothy, we want to thank you very much for being on our show tonight.
hey,
Anytime you come back,
Yeah.
man, share some of your portraits with us, your paintings with us. Come back and just holler at us, and we'll be very glad to get you back on the show.
And
well,
you're all,
Ricky, Blake, hey, it was an honor, really. You guys were great. It was really fun talking to you guys.
like Ricky said, anytime you're welcome. Anytime. If you just want to come on here and talk, I mean, sometimes we do a show every week. Every once in a while, we'll have somebody cancel. If you ever want to come on here, you're more than welcome to.
Sure, great.
Right.
Thanks.
Some nights, if we have somebody cancel out, I may holler at you if you don't care, if you want to do a show with us.
Sure, yeah. Just give me a holler.
All right, Tim, appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Timothy Wayne Williams, go on Facebook, check his artwork out, and hey, buy some. He's got some,
Yeah, buy a lot. Yeah, you can. My website is www.twwilliamsart.com. So if you want to check that out.
All right, man, we'll do it.
All right.
We really appreciate it. Thank you, Tim, and good night.
Thanks,
You have a
guys.
Merry
Take care.
Christmas, Tim.
You too. You too.
Blake, buddy, you got anything else before we close her out?
No, as always, guys, thank you very much. And like I say every time, if you're not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button, bell notification, comment, and like. Thank you guys for your support, and I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas. Be safe, and that's all, Ricky.
All right, Wayne, thank you again, Wayne, for being on the show with us. Everybody, Mr. Timothy Wayne Williams Fine Art. He gave you his website there a few minutes ago. His email is twwilliamsfinearts@yahoo.com. Go on and check him out. Check his artwork out. He does fantastic work. And as I said, hey, go on there and buy you a painting, and it's something you can sit back and enjoy for years to come. Everybody, thank you and good night.
Merry Christmas, guys.
Merry Christmas to everybody and a Happy New Year.